The Canon 24-70 f2.8L lens is a legendary lens, and rightly so. Optically it's brilliant, the build quality is fantastic, it's wonderfully sharp, it's a staple for all professional photographers. But now they brought out this guy, the 24-70 2.8L lens Mark II. Let's compare them. Well, considering that they're both 24-70 2.8s in the L series, there's a lot of things, as you'd expect, that are very similar. They have the same field of view, they have the same closest focused and therefore maximum reproduction ratio. They both stop down from 2.8 all the way through to f22. The new one you can see is noticeably shorter. It's also 10% lighter and noticeably so when you pick it up. And the front filter thread has gone from 77 on the old one to 82 on the new one, which is a bit of a bummer. That means you're going to be buying some new filters most likely. The new one does have 9 rounded aperture blades now, whereas the old one only had 8, which is surprising for a lens of that quality. The new one's got 2 UD elements and 1 super UD element, which is meant to reduce chromatic aberration in wide angle and reduce color blurring. It also has 2 aspherical lenses and coating to control the flare and color balance. And both external facing elements, front and rear, are fluorine coated to prevent smudging and fingerprinting and that kind of thing. Something a little unusual for a lens of this quality, it's got a lock, so you can lock down so then the zoom won't move in the bag. Something you normally only see on cheaper lenses that suffer from zoom creep, where the lens can start to unfold itself, but this doesn't seem to have that issue. Okay, so on paper, they're similar, but the new one has some obvious upgrades. But that means nothing on paper. Let's see how they actually perform in the field. Using the 5D Mark III with its new autofocus motor, the old lens is already incredibly fast to pull focus. There's really no hesitation on a bright sunny day like today. No matter what your focal length, it just pulls it into focus and grabs it. You can hear how fast that is. It's just, you know, there's really no pause. And shooting on this camera, it sounds like you're using a chain gun. Let's have a look on the new one and see if there's any noticeable difference. Now, putting the new one on, the weight distribution changes entirely because it is that, 100, 150 grams lighter than the old version. It just shifts the balance on the camera. And if I was out shooting with the 5D all day, I would much prefer to be using this new one. Now, I've been testing this one for most of the day, and I have to say the focus is as quick or potentially quicker than the old one, but only just. The old one is already a phenomenal focuser, and on a new body like this 5D Mark III, it's hard, you really can't fault either of them. But the new one in my casual testing is at least as good, potentially even a little bit quicker. Once they start to move, they both find the focus really quickly, but this one doesn't seem to have any hesitation to start the process of moving from right up close, minimum focusing distance, to, the infinity focus. It's, a split second. Okay, so let's get straight down to it with our handsome model. That's with the version 1 at 70mm at f2.8, and there's a 100% crop on that one. So you can see it is wonderfully sharp. Here we are on the version 2, and I actually held the lens up on this one so I knew which one I wasn't using. Thankfully, Lightroom actually told me in the metadata. And there's the 100% crop on that, and that's even sharper in my opinion. And that one looks a little bit warmer overall. These second test shots are to show bokeh as well as the vignetting. Now this is on the version 1, and look at the heavy vignetting in the corners there. That's at 24mm at 2.8 focused on the water bubbler, and there it is in at 70mm, beautifully blurred out in the background, and the vignetting is not so apparent there in the kind of shot it is. Here we are on the next model, the version 2. Still got some pretty obvious vignetting, but not quite as heavy as the version 1. And in at 70mm, I think that bokeh is even softer. That's really, really nice. Here we are with another bokeh test, and something really strange to demonstrate. There's the full shot at like f22 or something like that, just to show you how far the background was. And there we are shooting on the version 2 at 2.8 at 70mm. Beautifully lovely and soft, but look when we switch to the version 1. The frame has completely changed. Now, I did not move the tripod. They were both at 70mm. I checked it and double checked it and shot it a couple of times. For some reason, the field of view is not exactly the same on these two lenses. I don't know why. But again, the bokeh on that one is lovely. Bokeh, 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 however you want to say it. Now let's test out the flare handling. You can see the rims on the edge of the slippery dip and on the sides of the play equipment there are, blowing out because of the harsh sun coming from top camera left. So I'm actually going to shoot the full scene using each of the lenses and then see how much detail we can pull back and what we're able to get from the darks and the highlights. And I'll shoot this all in manual to try and keep the exposure exactly the same. Okay, so there's the full scene. The sun was just up top left of the screen, and there's a full grab on it. That's on the version 1 lens. It's really great performance. Don't get me wrong, this is a world-class performance, but here's the version 2, and I don't know how well this will come through once the YouTube encoding has gone in, but look at the full crop there, and the small flares that are coming off the slippery dip on this one are much better controlled, and there's a better... it's holding the details better. But on this next one, it's a little bit of a different story. Okay, so shooting directly into harsh sunlight and with the reflection coming up off the water, there we are on version 1, and you can see if you look in the middle down the bottom, there is a big sun flare there, but this is really challenging conditions. But here, take a look at the version 2, and it's even more noticeable. It's also because of the placement of the flare in the scene is a little bit more obvious on that one, but you can see more small light bursts coming through as well. Surprising, huh? But whilst there's more and more obvious flare, the detail is being still held in the dark areas much better. There's the original lens again, and look at the trees on the right. There's just not the same level of detail on that one. Okay, here let's look at center sharpness. So this is shot at f8. This is on the version 1 lens, focused in on the central flower, and there's 100% crop in on it. And this lens is known for how wonderfully sharp it is. That's a fantastic performance. Here we are with the version 2 lens, and that's also at the 100% crop, and they're very, very close. I've looked at these full screen 100% on my laptop without any compression, straight from the raw files, and there is slightly more contrast, and it does seem a little bit crisper on the new lens, but they're both really good. But center sharpness is one thing. What about edge sharpness? Here we are on the version 1, and again, this is shot at f8. There it is at 100% crop from the far right-hand side, and it's a fantastic performance. You can't fault that too much. But then here we are on the version 2, and let's go in on the crop on that one, and looking at the pylons, especially on the left, but then also in the metal studs on the right-hand side, there is definitely crisper and more detail on the version 2 on that right-hand side. So keeping in mind the unusual flare pattern, but the fact that it kept the detail there, the bokeh, the sharpness, whilst the original was fantastic and absolutely a classic, I think the version 2 does improve on it in most every regard by just that little bit. Big thanks to Digital Camera Warehouse for loaning me these two to test out today. Now you're presented with a tyranny of choice. If you're a Canon user and you're looking to step up and grab a 24-70 2.8 zoom lens, I highly recommend both of them. The original is a fantastic lens, and if you get a good quality used one at a good price with no damage, it's a pretty good deal. They're going cheap as people snap up these new ones. The new one, you can see the improvements. The images are sharper. You can see the full res images in the Flickr group. I'll put a link below where you can check some of those out. But the bokeh is that little bit softer. It's that much lighter. It's that much smaller. It is a beautiful, beautiful lens, but with the extra few $100s that this one's going to cost new, and then compared to these ones, which now as they go out of stock are going to be cheaper, and then potentially on the used market as well, you're really going to have to toss up, do you need absolutely fantastic or freaking amazing? Because they're both really, really good. It's just how good do you need it to be, and can you justify that extra markup to get the latest and greatest? Hope that helps. Please subscribe, jump onto thatnikonguy.com and you can sign up for our mailing list, and I'll see you soon.